Instead of being sworn in with the 116th Congress last week, the presumed winner of the 9th Congressional District seat in North Carolina, Mark Harris, met with the state election board about the investigation into alleged voter fraud.
Harris narrowly defeated his Democratic opponent, Dan McCready, but the race has not been certified and remains under investigation. Hearing on the election results is set to take place this month. That was originally scheduled to happen before December 21st, but it was postponed because state investigators had not yet received all subpoenaed documents. Joe Bruno is a reporter for WSOC-TV in Charlotte, North Carolina. He has been closely following and breaking news on this investigation since the beginning, and he joins us now via Skype to update us on the latest in the investigation. Joe, welcome back. Great to see you. Get us up to speed here. Where are we? What is happening?
So originally there was supposed to be this evidentiary hearing on before January 31st. Unfortunately, a court ruling resulted in the State Board of Elections disbanding. So now there is no physical board of members to hold that hearing. So essentially we're in a holding pattern. We're in no man's land right now in terms of the investigation. The staff is still investigating the election fraud, but there are no board members that can have a hearing on this. So that's on hold until at least after January 31st. In the meantime, Mark Harris has gone ahead and filed a motion in Wake County Superior Court. He is suing to be certified as the winner. He has said basically that all of the local elections boards have already certified him and no protests were filed, so he should be certified as the winner of the 9th Congressional District.
So, Joe, what was the initial initial irregularities? It had to do with ballot harvesting and whether do we have any additional information on the alleged initial shenanigans from the last time we saw you, and just by way of review for the folks at home?
Yeah, they're investigating potential voting irregularities and election fraud in Bladen and Robeson counties. Those are on the southern end of the 9th Congressional District, which stretches from Charlotte to Bladen County, about a 3-hour distance. Since the time that we spoke last, Dan McCready's attorneys have filed numerous more affidavits from voters that are alleging wrongdoing. 3 of those affidavits were from people who say that they handed their ballot to someone else to be delivered to elections officials. That, of course, is illegal in North Carolina. But it went a step further than that. When we checked the state voter rolls, all 3 of those people did not have votes recorded in the 2018 election. So here they were handing their votes to be delivered to elections officials, but those votes never were recorded. And that's one of the things that the State Board of Elections is looking at. We've had more than 1,000 unreturned ballots that people haven't voted. So what happened to those votes?
So it's essentially the idea that these folks who were hired by Harris's campaign were accepting these ballots, and then they were only turning in the ones where they expected to like the vote that had been recorded on it. Is that kind of what's being alleged here?
Well, that's what the State Board of Elections is trying to figure out. We do know that the person who is the center of all of this, McCrae Dallas, he's the electioneer who's been working for years in Bladen County. He was hired by Mark Harris's team as well as Bladen County Sheriff Jim McVicker's team. We've also talked to 2 people who worked for Dallas who were told that they were to promote the 2 candidates whenever they were going out to pick up ballots. And when they picked up ballots, they did not send them directly to the post office or send them directly to the elections board. They handed them to Dallas. So the question is really, what did he do with those ballots? How did he know whether somebody voted for a certain candidate? We have also heard reports that some people were handing their ballots unsealed to these elections workers. So certainly that would be a way that he would know the results there.
Are there any allegations already that this electioneer, McCrae Dallas, may have been doing essentially what's alleged in this election and previous elections? Is it possible that the irregularities that are yet to be proven, but certainly slowing things down there, that those might have taken place in previous years?
There have been some filings from the State Board of Elections because they are uploading all of the evidence that they accumulate that doesn't impact the investigation. There has been some documents that they've posted that indicate that McCrae Dowell was doing something similar in 2016. We know that he's been very active in elections since about 2010 for both political parties, all different races. And I'm sure that that is something that elections officials will be looking into. But I will say, in my time in Blaine County, I've been there for about 7 or 8 days now. And I'm in Charlotte now, but over the course of my reporting, a lot of people have said that this has been going on for years.
Yeah. I want to take you back to something you said here at the beginning. The State Board of Elections has been disbanded. What's going on there, and when will it be rebanded?
It's really complicated, but basically the State Board of Elections was found to be unconstitutional, and the court allowed it to stay in existence for several weeks as the certification process played out. But then they said on December 28th that you guys have to disband. You haven't given us a reason why you keep ignoring our court orders. So the governor was going to appoint a new Board of Elections that would serve until January 31st. So that the evidentiary hearing would have been allowed to happen on January 11th. But basically, Republicans refused to seat members on this interim Board of Elections because they believed it was an illegal act by the governor. The governor could have went ahead and appointed 3 Democratic members to the board and had quorum, but it would take a 4th member to call for a new election. So basically, North Carolina does not have a State Board of Election until January 31st. That's when a new law that was enacted by the General Assembly takes effect.
How could the Board of Elections be unconstitutional under the state constitution? Sorry, we're really putting you through your paces here, my friend, but how does that work?
No problem. So it's been an ongoing battle since Governor Cooper took office. The Republican legislature changed the makeup of the board. At one point, it was 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans, and this was fought through the courts without getting too into the weeds. It was fought through the courts for several years, and eventually it was struck down as unconstitutional several times, actually, but the court allowed it to remain in place so it wouldn't create chaos during the election. Of course, now all we have is chaos in the 9th District.
So you said Harris is suing to have the results of his election certified. Is there any expectation that that will be successful?
Well, it would be a really big win for Harris if he could get that. Dan McCready's team and State Board of Elections has until January 14th to submit their briefs to the Wake County Superior Court. But even if he is successful, House Democrats have been pretty clear that they are going to investigate the 9th District for themselves. So I think later this month we'll start to see action coming out of Capitol Hill, people starting to take a deeper look at the 9th District because the House has control over its own members. And if they don't want to seat Harris, they won't seat Harris. And Majority Leader Hoyer has been pretty clear that at this point, Harris would not be seated.
And if he's not seated, then what happens?
Well, the House could vacate the seat and we could have a new election. And if the House vacates the seat, that also triggers a new primary. Of course, the State Board of Elections, whenever it does come back into play here, they can continue their investigation and order a new election as well. Republican lawmakers last month did change the law. So if the State Board of Elections orders a new election, there will be a new primary as well in the state.
Gotcha. So it looks like we may be headed to starting from scratch, new primary, new general, try the whole thing over again.
It certainly looks like we're heading that way. And in the meantime, the 9th District just has no representation. More than 780,000 people live in this district from Charlotte to Bladen County. Right now, if you call the phone number for that was assigned to Mark Harris, it just goes to voicemail and it's an automated message that says Honorable M. Harris is not available. If you call Robert Pittenger's old phone numbers, it tells you to call Richard Burr and Senator Tom Tillis to help out with your constituent concerns. So really, it's the 9th District constituents who are the big losers here.
Indeed. Joe, thank you. Great to have you.
Yeah.
Coming up, from the fictional Oval Office to the real halls of Congress, actor Richard Schiff has maintained his passion for political activism.
He shares with us some of the insights gained from campaigning with congressional hopefuls and working for one of television's most famous presidents. When Rising continues.